Great. Kate.
Thank you. I'm going to build a lot on what Anne-Marie and Fred have just said in terms of my feeling about what is one of the most important things that we need to know and do to build resiliency into the U.S. food system. And yes, I'm going to be parochial. I'm going to mainly look at the U.S. food system, not that it doesn't apply other places, but I have a few examples where it may not. And that is what I think we need to do is motivate a much larger proportion of all agricultural scientists to engage in systems analyses. And I'm happy to admit and acknowledge that there is an awful lot more systems research in agriculture than there was 36 years ago when the infamous Pound report came out of the National Academy of Sciences. And Dick Levins, an ag economist at the University of Minnesota, opined at that point that the long-term improvement of agricultural research would require, first of all, a rapprochement between pragmatic research and fundamental research, and a goal like better management rather than higher yields to break down disciplinary barriers. And I think that's just as fresh today as it was when Dick said it 36 years ago. So there's more systems research, but the present situation, as I think most of us see it, falls extremely short of what's needed to define resiliency and to measure adaptive capacity in U.S. agriculture. And I would direct everybody who hasn't seen this to the piece by Robertson et al. And the et al. Includes a majority of people from the state of California in Bioscience in 2004, talking about rethinking a vision for environmental research in agriculture, where all of these issues are laid out quite nicely. We happen to know, I think, from a great deal of research that's gone on for a long time, almost all the reasons why there isn't more systems research being done in agriculture. And I won't take the time to go into all the reasons, but despite this knowledge, there hasn't been much action to translate our knowledge of why people don't want to do systems research into more systems research. There are many examples of good systems research. As I said in my notes, many examples of just terrific ecosystems research, but with no acknowledgement of the social processes that are part of that and have to accompany it and have to be intimately involved, as Anne-Marie was describing, in leading us to problem solving that's going to be rational and acceptable, and anything else we want to say to get so that the results of systems research are going to be systematic but also reasonable, practical, and useful. Much of the systems research in agriculture that I look to is coming out of Europe, which is far advanced in the United States, especially what the EU has been willing to fund over the last 5 years than in the US. So I look to Europe for a lot of very good examples. That doesn't mean that there aren't good examples here, and I mentioned the Coupled Natural and Human Systems program at the National Science Foundation as funding really superb agricultural research, but not surprisingly, most of the research that NSF is funding is not necessarily related to agriculture. You would not expect it to be, given where it's coming from. There's also, there's many examples of decent, good, useful research inside USDA. There's a brand new project that I mentioned quickly, just getting off the boards out of the Agricultural Research Service, called the Eastern Seaboard Food Security Project, which will, I think, once funding is available, will be extremely exciting and useful. It isn't that there aren't an awful lot of tools to do good systems research with. And the ones that I mentioned in my briefing paper all are on the social science side of research tools, because I think most people know what a lot of the modeling and other tools are on the natural science side, but little use has been made of those tools that have been developed, again, over the last 30 years on the social science side, which are so critical to being able to have an interdisciplinary team that can, that's willing to sit down and listen to each other, learn each other's jargon, and do what needs to get done. So what do we need? One is, I think, this is not a new idea, but we haven't accomplished it, and that is a culture of systems thinking across the land-grant universities that permeates teaching. And I find myself greatly concerned about the fact that a tremendous number of graduate students and undergraduate students coming out of land grants in the United States have no knowledge of systems thinking, no knowledge of the tools that are available, no knowledge of even the absolute necessity of doing this kind of research. And so it's kind of a chicken and an egg thing there. If they're not being exposed to this kind of thinking, it's going to be much less likely that they will be able to use systems tools in their own positions as they get out into the world. It also, the notion of systems needs to permeate all research, including basic research, which will always be necessary. And I would love to think that basic research, in fact, could become a little more strategic in the sense that the basic research that people are going to do could at least be envisioned in some way as contributing to a system. The second thing I think we need...
Just another minute or so.
What?
Just another minute or so.
1 minute, fine. I think that there needs to be, like everything else, support at the top. And I look around at, I'm not picking on anybody, I look around at many of the deans of agriculture in the United States, and I don't see the deans giving the kind of support, or the provost or the president, the kind of support to this kind of research that will have to be there. Otherwise, again, it won't be done. And then I think that my last point is that it behooves the land grants to maybe do some more self-reflection about why, even before this amazing economic crisis, the interest and the support for land-grant research has been declining, particularly at the state level in most states in the United States, and whether more systems research and systems projects, interdisciplinary systems projects that addressed multiple problems simultaneously might look more responsive to public needs, might deliver the goods, as it were, the public goods, which, as Tom said this morning, were the reasons that the land-grant system was developed in the first place.
Thank you.